There's plenty of times you don't want to do it, and you have to do it. If you have a vision of your purpose, then it's easy.
I'm choosing that everything in life is positive, even the most unwanted things. But there's a gift, there's a lesson, there's something to be learned.
What you give attention to becomes your entire world, even if it's not true.
Especially for men, I think what holds most people back is fear. I didn't like the man that I saw in the mirror. I tied my worth and identity to how much money I had, how much I could help people and do stuff. But the reality, and I had all these voids in my life that I was trying to fill with money. Welcome to the Burn Up Podcast. My name is Adam Nugent. I'm your host. I'm super excited about today's conversation with Wally Roskelley.
Ooh, me too.
Right. Wally and I first met each other a few years ago. It was funny. We reconnected here just recently, and I had sent him a text. We realized that we had texted each other about my last podcast that we never actually made happen. And in reconnection, like, we got to get on. We got to have a conversation. Wally is really most well known for his stints and continue to be on American Ninja Warrior.
Yep.
And Wally's, you're going to get to know, is one of the most upbeat, like legit. You know how some people are happy here, happy there. This guy's legit. He's got a great story, inspiring, motivational speaker, tons of business success. And so we're just going to have a fun conversation and go where this goes. So Wally, thanks for being here.
You know, when you're like a kid and you're like, hey, my dream job when I'm older is like an astronaut or a firefighter. When I was a kid, I was like, my only goal in life is to be on an Adam Nugent podcast. So like, I feel like I'm won the lottery.
Oh my gosh.
Today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm so glad. Like a Make-A-Wish Foundation. We've just made your wish.
I'm a Make-A-Wish kid. Sweet.
But you know what you're saying
I'm in
before
the
we
right
got
place.
on, like right now, you're just exiting one of your businesses and you're spending some more time here just in literally motivation and sharing your story. So let's jump into that, because side note, which is so funny you say that, because I think you said like this is something you always wanted to do and now actually you're making it.
Yeah, I've had call it manifestation or dream boards, but I'll have like a vision like, hey, I want to do this someday. That seems far-fetched or seems crazy, and then actually comes true. It's happened many, many times.
Do you mind if we go there? Because
Yeah.
I geek out on this. So what is manifesting to you?
Well, I don't know if traditionally people like say, I'm going to do this or this and write a goal out. I don't know if I even went that far, but it's like somewhere like man, that'd be so cool if I owned a skate shop. That'd be like the coolest thing I could think of doing. And then a few years later, I own a skate shop. But I think I have probably 20 of these things that I thought, I don't know, that seems far-fetched or seems too cool or too extreme, and then they've all come about. I talk about people want to change something in their life. So we all know habits, right? Read all the habit books and like, oh, habits will change things. And people will try a habit for 2 weeks, go to the gym, say, hey, I'm going to go train. But unless your identity, your personality of yourself or your thought of yourself matches, then it won't stick. Like habits don't stick. Like you hear the 21 days and it's in there. I don't think that's true. If you say I'm going to train versus I train, like I am a person who goes to the gym, if you identify as that, then the habit will stick. So along the lines of all the goals or all the cool aspirations, it's like, oh, it'd be cool to, in high school or in college, like, hey, it'd be cool to be a DJ. And then I kind of like visualized it. And then I was actually doing wedding videos in college. And somebody's like, hey, do you know a DJ? And I was like, well, that's what I do now. And I was like, what? I just kind of said that. I didn't, I hadn't done it before, but I just kind of already envisioned myself doing it. Bought a bunch of equipment, set up in my living room the night before, and then did a great job. And they gave me a huge tip and stuff. And I was like, dude, this is so cool. But it only happened because I declared myself and in my brain that that's what I am. So if you want a habit, decide on the habit, but then also that has to be your identity to make it stick.
You're the first person when I've asked that question that actually is in alignment with the way I see it. Yes. Paraphrasing what you just said, manifesting, in order to have something, you have to be what you want. It's so much is rooted in identity. I share a lot with my weight loss journey when I peaked at 350 pounds and I've lost 130 pounds, and where, it was so hard just to get ready for the gym. I could go out and make money. It was no big deal, but to get ready for the gym, I'm like, it was such a quote unquote struggle, or what was so hard. And to me, when I talk about working out, it's not what I do, it's who I am. It's just, it just is.
Well said. Yep.
I love that.
Weight loss journey. Can I tell you mine real quick?
Please, yeah.
When I was a sophomore in high school, I weighed 145. I'm 45 years old now, so I've gained about a pound a year. That's my whole story. I'm 165 now. I can't gain more weight or lose weight.
This is so funny too, because guys that like want to.
I'm being sarcastic. Yeah.
No, it's like my oldest son. His big thing is he really wants to put on weight, no matter what he does, right? And then you have somebody else heavy, they want to lose weight, and it's like, yeah. And hey, you know what? You did it. You put on.
I was at this retreat for business guys, and they were like meeting me like, "Oh, American Ninja Warrior, that's so cool." And one guy goes, "I don't mean to be rude, but you don't look like super strong like I would envision a Ninja Warrior." So, I mean, I like, pretty cut, I guess, but not like a big shouldered giant
I don't
biceps
think,
guy.
from what I remember,
Look
like the big guys don't do as
Yeah,
well.
they actually don't. Yeah. You got to stay pretty lean. It's a strength to weight ratio for sure. So this is one of those things. We'll go back to the manifesting. So I saw the show about 10 years ago. I've been rock climbing and I like to do pull-ups, a few things like that. And I was like, oh, this is such a cool show. And I previously tried out for Deal or No Deal and Fear Factor and some other small one. Just, I don't know, just kind of be fun. But then I was like, oh, I could probably do good at this. I've always been scrambly, running up rocks and climbing things and just kind of loved obstacle courses, even a bounce house place or whatever. And so I just saw the show, decided to apply. And that year was one of the most popular years. 90,000 applicants applied, and there was only 600 spots. And you sent a video and stuff. And then somehow I got called, and I was like, dude, what? This is so crazy. And so I was like really stoked about that. And so I started training. I started just doing pull-ups. I didn't know what else to do. I had a backpack on with food storage cans, and I was just doing weighted pull-ups every day. And there was no training facilities or anything. So I went to the show. And it's probably the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, going to it's fine, but you're there for a few days. You sign papers, you're like interviews, and then you have this big, glorious, shiny course, all these lights and hundreds of cameras and all these guys with headphones on and directing, and the whole crowd. You're like standing behind the stage, about to walk up, and they're like, Wally, Wally, Wally. I'm like, dude, my inside's like, oh man, I can't believe this is happening. I'm like on TV, on the show, something I'm maybe good at, and get on the stage and like smiling or waving. And I just felt so nervous. I don't really get nervous that often. I don't get intimidated very often, but this was like the peak scare. Cause I was like, if I fall on that first step, that's my history. I made it here, won the lottery to get here. I'll fall on the first step. That's my whole thing. So I just didn't want to, that's not a good way to focus, but it was like what was going through my mind. So, I went part way through the course and fell on a balance obstacle, and it was like a magical experience. It was really cool, maybe slightly better than the average person. So that became a part of me. I'm like, oh, I am American Ninja Warrior because I've been on the show. People were, excited about it, and I never had more Instagram, Facebook people reach out and say something like, dude, I can't believe that you're on a show. This is so cool. A lot of people have been on now, so it's like less, maybe a little desensitized, but went on the next year, and then me and another competitor decided to open a gym together. Like, we'll do
because was there any other gyms across the country?
There was one up north, and it was kind of new too. Ended up going there a couple of times. And then, so we built one, but there's not like instructions for this type of business or how to build things. Can't buy anything on Amazon. So we had to come up with everything ourselves, build it all ourselves. And we're like, dude, we just put all this money and time into this, and I hope this works out. We got a 5-year lease. Like, maybe we just wasted a bunch of money. I just know there was a little bit of tension because my backyard I had built out in my basement, obstacles, and people came all over to train on that because it was all it was. So opening day, we're like, please work out. It looks cool. It's glamorous. We're opening at 10 a.m. We look out. We're cleaning up in a little bit in the morning. We're looking out. It's 9 a.m. and we look out, and there is a gigantic line. Like, we can't even see the end of the line. 1,000 people in line to get in on the opening day, and we're like, dude, we hit the jackpot. So instead of trying to get people in, we gave everybody 15 minutes to play, kick them out. The hardest thing of the day was getting people to leave after their 15-minute thing. Yeah. So we ended up having almost 4,000 people come on opening day to 7,000 square foot building in Lehi, Utah. Like, dude, this is a cool dream, man. This is pretty sweet. Fast forward on another location. It's now the largest gym in the entire world, and that's in St. Utah. And we have a ton of friends. So a great gym in St. George, close friends of ours, and there's plenty all over the United States that are just fun places. Like, so it's become a real sport. So we have members, we have open gym, we have birthdays, we have events all the time. If you could tell me that I had 2 gyms and the largest gym, and we have all this cool community and people, I would never have dreamed that in the past. It was like just the coolest business. I have several other businesses and different incomes, but this is like the fun one to talk about. It's really, really cool.
So you said something, as you're talking, going back to kind of your identity, right? It's like, I envision this, it's basically kind of an I am statement. And it's interesting. You said you don't get scared that often, or don't have a lot of fear.
Not much intimidation, or
have you always been like that?
Yeah, maybe like I realized in high school, if you're like talking to a good looking girl or something, you're like, oh my gosh, it's Stacy Ferguson, or you say her first and last name, and it's like it's a celebrity you're talking to or something. And then when you get another person, you're like, they're just a regular person. They're not like this high status person. So like, I don't know why we think that way. And then into high school and college, then I realized like there isn't really anything scary unless you tell yourself it is. If you think it's scary or if you think it's intimidating, it's probably because you built it up in your mind.
Oh, for sure. It's
Right.
a total, and usually what we think is so scary or whatever, it ends up being something so much smaller.
Well, what's the definition of anxiety? Is I don't really experience extreme anxiety, but anybody can get anxious about some things. It's the idea of something bad happening, but actually hasn't happened.
Yeah. And
Most of the time, it doesn't ever happen.
And I think
right?
especially for men, I think what holds most people back is fear,
Yeah.
right? You've made a decision. I'm going to go do this. I'm just going to go. It's action. And then like, I'm going to figure it out. And what was interesting, you're like, I don't get that scared. And again, you're like, I'm scared to death when I'm sitting on the stage for the very first time. Right. And maybe that's a feeling you're not used to feeling, but even you're like, hey, let's set up a gym. Okay, let's go. Like I'm sure you had, you're methodical as you thought it through, but it's like, you just, we'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah.
And I think that's a superpower. And
Dude, now I feel cool.
no, but seriously though, because I work with a lot of men and you see things and it's like, so many people say, I want the thing. I'm going to do the thing, the vision. And then they don't because they're scared. And then what happens is as time goes on, then there's shame and then there's anxiety around that. And then all of a sudden their worth gets, diminished because they're not, and then they get into comparison mode and then it's a slippery slope. But learning how to, lean into fear. And to me, I believe like fear is a calling. Like if we're really scared to do something, and I'm not talking about, jumping off a building without a parachute,
right.
but like it's actually the universe, God's way of saying, hey, this is something you need to lean into. And I can't even imagine, I'm sure for you is like, again, you made it to the show, you did this stuff. And the more and more you do it is you build these base hits, these wins, and all of a sudden you're building even more and more confidence, which then gives you even greater or less fear to be able to take on the next thing,
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Just build your confidence. The more things you do, more wins you have.
Yeah. And so now, like here over the last year or so, you said you've been really taking your message and speaking to.
Yeah. So something I wanted to do a long time ago, I guess when I was on stage DJing, it felt really comfortable behind a microphone and like just loved the energy of the crowd and maybe like being center stage. And, so I thought, hey, and I also have some good messages and cool experiences that I want to share with people. And I have some good friends that are speakers and business partner and just seeing a lot of them. I was like, dude, this looks so fun. I want to do this someday. And that was several years ago. And now I've been speaking to schools and businesses. And I literally just got back from Vegas speaking on stage at the South Point Hotel and for this cool conference. And man, I just like every time I get up, I just get in the zone. Like I could never say anything wrong, but the words just flow perfectly. And I feel like on fire and just want to deliver this cool message and make a difference in their lives. And it's been really, really rewarding. And then when you're done, everybody's like, oh, that was so cool. And they want to work with you or talk to you about something. And
so what's the difference? What's the difference you're trying to make in people's lives? Like if you were to pinpoint something, is there something specific that's a kind of a core underlying?
Yeah, well, it is definitely a mindset, and you can use it for sports or sales or family or whatever. But I have three main principles that I talk about. One is constant advancement. Okay, so progress, that equals happiness. If you're sitting still, if you're falling backwards, it'd be really hard to experience a good life, a peaceful life. So this could be advancement in fitness or in work or in your family or your eating or money. Any area, even if it's small advancements. It's not like, hey, I have to fulfill my massive dream. It just needs forward advancements. Okay. The next one is focus. What you give attention to becomes your entire world, even if it's not true.
What you focus on grows.
You could focus on my hair is weird or messed up or whatever. I can't even be a good example at the moment. And you'll focus on it so much that you'll actually think that. Have you seen those videos where the guys will walk around to random people on the street and they'll show a picture of a girl and like, hey, will you rate this girl?
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh, she's like an 8 or 9. She's beautiful. And then everybody says about the same answer. It goes to the girl and she says she's a 5. And he's like, well, that's inconsistent. All these people said this number because she is only focused on what she doesn't have maybe or some negative thing about her. So our entire world revolves around what we give attention to. We joke about friends like they're going to do an obstacle course, Ninja Warrior obstacle course, and like, oh man, that one obstacle, the balance obstacle. This is a true story. A friend was like, I'm definitely going to fail that balance obstacle. This is like, there's upper body ones, most of them, and then there's something you run across that might be hard to get it past, seemingly. So he was like, I'm definitely going to fail that one. He said it probably 100 times. He's obviously nervous. And what do you do? Falls right on it. If you look at the stats later, it was the least failed obstacle of the entire episode, which, so, I mean, that's all he focused on. He's like, didn't even visualize getting past that. Then that became everything. And the third principle is your purpose. So you want motive. You have a good purpose for something. That's easy. Let's say you want to clean the house and you're like, this is such a massive project. So you don't wait for motivation to clean the house. You do a little thing. Do a tiny step, and dopamine goes in. Then you have motive to do the next thing, and next thing, and the next thing. That's motivation. But for the bigger picture, your purpose is massive. So this will give you drive to do all those things. If you're working on that list again, money or fitness or family or your job or whatever, if you have a vision of your purpose, then it's easy. So I learned this because my daughter in high school, she's a phenomenal athlete. She played girls tackle football, she played softball, and she played track and a little bit of golf and rugby. And she was the athletic trainer intern, and she managed the boys basketball and football team. Just super involved, right? And then as soon as school was ending, there's like no sports, no school. On paper, perfect life. Really, really cool parents, no, just like has good friends, has good family, had opportunities. She's like cute girl. It's really fun. And but she started going into serious depression, like end of life depression. And we couldn't figure it out. Like, what is going on? So we talked to a couple doctors and things, tried different methods, and nothing was really working. And her friend's like, hey, will you, there's a job opening here at this place called Corn Bellies. If you're from Utah, you know what that is. It's like a pumpkin patch, like rides, and just fun little family place. And I was like, she's not going to really like this. And she went and worked there, and she's taking care of a couple of the rides, and she drives a tractor. It's like little pods that like kids sit in, and little cows that they sit in, drives around. And she would do that for like 10 or 12. She even had a 14-hour day, like on her like 5th day. And she comes home. I'm like, dude, are you okay? And she's like, Dad, it was like the best day of my whole life. I was like, what? She goes, I feel so good. Like, and what she was experiencing was purpose again. So it literally healed basically everything. Felt good about life, wasn't depressed, had direction, even in such a short time. I mean, like in 2 weeks, she felt dramatically better. Nobody's ever 100%, but it was just amazing. Just this job giving her purpose gave her life again.
It's interesting you're bringing that up because I've been having these conversations around purpose. If you look, I do a lot of work around like with the men that I work with, like the foundation of a man, right? So oversimplifying, and people have different pillars or, categories. But if you take like, your emotional, mental well-being, your spiritual, your relational, your financial, physical, and what, is a foundation. But then as I've been sitting with this, there's actually something deeper than that. And especially for a man. And I appreciate you sharing the thing for a woman as well, because I think obviously for both men and women, but it's like, if you don't have purpose or you're not living your purpose, like you can't fully show up in your marriage. You can't fully show up for your kids. You can't fully show up in the different areas of your life if you don't even know what your why is. Yeah. And I find that a lot of people don't know what their why is, And so what advice would you give to somebody that doesn't even, they hear you, it makes sense, but actually knowing what that
probably
is.
Takes some self-analyzation, like purpose does. Sometimes it happens to you, but sometimes you got to choose that. And like if you want to be a good dad, that could be your purpose, but then you'll embrace it, Then you embrace it and you do things to be a good dad, and that'll grow and grow and grow. And then you're fulfilled because your purpose is coming to life, and it's easy because you've identified as a good dad and you're doing some of the things. Then it'll just come naturally probably, and you'll feel good about your life. Tony Robbins talks about we have an expectation of ourselves at 30 years old, I want to make this much money and have this many kids and live in this place. And if we haven't lived up to that, we'll feel like behind or depressed or bad, like, oh man, I failed. And vice versa, if we've gone above that, we'll feel like we're, cloud nine will be just amazing. So I don't know how that sort of connects, but it's your having your purpose will help you achieve the goals that you were visualizing at one point.
Yeah. It's funny because I'll ask guys like, what's your purpose? Like, I don't know. Or to make money, to provide. And I don't feel like the energy of that, I've got 4 sons, and it's funny. My 18-year-olds, I sent him a podcast last year to all my kids, and it was on the Diary of a CEO, and he was talking about purpose. And the premise was like why there's so many young men that are struggling right now, like with whatever, gambling, like social interactions, everything's online, and this particular guy who was interviewing was talking about, well, they don't know what their purpose is. Their dharma, if you will. And until you actually know what that is, if once the purpose is so big, you're willing to go through uncomfortable, same with working out, right? It's because motivation's fleeting. I was in my DMs today with guys, messaging about fitness stuff, like for fitness clients. And they're like, the number one thing that everybody's saying what they struggle with is motivation. And it's like, well, if you're only, motivation's fleeting, but if the purpose exceeds that, then you still do it anyway. It's where the discipline that comes in.
Well, and I'll go back to the identity if you see yourself as a workout person or whatever. So I have one more thing to touch on that.
Yeah.
Do you have something you're known for? People are like, oh, Adam, he's...
I'm known for a lot of things. I'm sure positive and negative. It depends on who you ask, but my stories, I think, as we're talking about physical health, like I've completely transformed my physical health.
Okay.
Like,
right.
Yeah.
So we have an identity of ourselves, and they can be good or bad. So I teach this all the time. So if you see yourself as the guy that works out, or the guy that does cool business or podcasts, or the shoe guy, I always give this example. So like somebody's like, dude, you have the dopest shoes ever. Where'd you get those? And then years ago, and in your mind, subconsciously, like, yeah, I'm the shoe guy. And then you'll buy cooler shoes and make sure you have clean shoes. And maybe if you're around that person, you'll always wear like your favorite shoes that day. That becomes a part of you. And what's weird is our brains will defend this identity to the death, even if it's a bad thing. Like if somebody's known for doing sketchy stuff, or like, I don't know, stealing things or something, if they are known for that, they will live up to that thing. So what I've done and had other people do is analyze what are your known fors. Not like, it could be what people know. Like we know you as like a workout guy and several things, but maybe in your mind, you've even developed subconscious things. Like I always am late. And so people may not know he's a late person on the outside, but you might have identified yourself as a late person. And so it almost justifies that you can be late all the time. And you may not even be on time on purpose because like, well, I'm the late guy. Like I'm always late. And so it's hard to identify these because they're negative. You're like, I don't want to admit that I'm whatever it is. But if you can recognize that and then change that identity of yourself, then you can solve those problems real easy.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if something's in the past, like, if it's theft or whatever, or if someone knows you for something that happened maybe in the past and that's not who you are. It again, to me, everything's rooted in a story, and the words matter. Words are powerful. So it's like, no, that's something I did. That's not who I am. It's very different energy where a lot of people tie their worth, to different things. I've had guests on here that have, that help with addiction recovery, or people that have gone through it. And one of the, take the main one, AA, which is, it helped millions of people. But the truth is there are people that have been in that program for 10, 15, 20 plus years. And they go to a meeting. The first thing they stand up and say is, I'm an addict.
Yeah.
Their identity is they're an addict. And even though they're sober, and to me, that doesn't connect. It's like, I was an addict, or I have an addictive personality. That's not who I am.
You can change it.
And I think it's fascinating that how powerful, again, which is I am, and like I have a personal declaration, and it's like I state who I want. The way I manifest is like I am the guy that has all the things or is doing the things in the present tense, because you have to be what you want to attract. And for me, when I went through the pain and the shame and the guilt of whether it was going through my divorce or losing my investment company, and different people that were affected by so many different things, like the shame and guilt that I carried with that was so heavy. And then also, being able to detach from the past or things that I've done, and then And then the further levels, let somebody else have an experience or feeling about me. And, you know, there was a time when I was going through everything. I was with one of my coaches, and I'm like, I wish I didn't care about it, what anyone thought. And he goes, no, you don't. I'm like, I'm sick of this. He goes, well, you'd be a raging narcissist if you didn't care. And he said, the truth is, like, it's okay to want to care what other people think, but not more than what you think about yourself.
Ooh, that's deep. I like
and
that.
I didn't really connect, but to me today, it's like, I get that. Like, yes, I still care what people think, especially next to it. And I will take feedback from certain people, but ultimately what matters the most is how I see myself.
Yeah, it shouldn't be the driving force of what other people think about you. Because obviously you want to, like, I mean, you would never dress presentable if you didn't care what people thought, or do work hard and things like that. But yeah, that shouldn't be the driving force, or the dominant force. Should be your own.
See, for most of my life, my worth was tied to everybody else. So I was the people pleaser, saying yes to everything to be seen, you know. And so, like, I know the opposite side of that. And so I'm really super sensitive when I see that or hear that and recognize that. And yes, again, I still want to show up and serve people, but like sometimes the most giving people, you know, they talk a lot about, like, hey, the nice guy, right? Nice, there sometimes can be very manipulative versus kind. Like, I'm kind, I can be kind-hearted, but sometimes nice. If I'm overgiving and doing stuff, it's not even about the other person. It's about, it's an insecurity, like, in the person that's doing that. And that was me.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. You know how the best way to build self-esteem is to watch your Instagram likes, you know, and comments? Sarcastic.
So
I always tell my kids the opposite, ironic lessons. You know, I'm like, hey, what's the most important quality in marriage? Money. Yes, thank you. And if you don't like the person, buy stuff, right? So I'll say this sometimes in front of people. Like, hey, Sadie, what's the most important quality in marriage? She'll say money, and everybody cracks up. Like, so it's really a lesson. You have all these, like, ironic lessons that obviously, you know, it's the opposite. Or like, how do you make yourself feel better? Put other people down, right? Insult other people. Obviously, it's not. It's ironic to get the lesson.
A lot of irony in that. What scares you today? What are you scared of?
Oh, I don't know.
Like, you ever thought about, is there something that you're like, oh, and then there's like a little bit of hesitation? Because I love just the way because again, you have a gift and you've been able to, like, really fine tune it even more. Because I just, again, I'm so present with people and seeing things of fear. Yeah. And you're just like, yeah, just go for it.
I don't think your fears or what you're scared of is the right word, is like, as opposed to, I hope this happens, maybe like fear that it doesn't happen. But it's not really like a fear. Like, I want my kids to be super happy. That's a huge, huge goal, more than almost anything. And so would do anything for that, you know, whether it's like being there for their sports or support them in whatever they like to do, or teaching them principles and things like that. So if they didn't end up in a good spot, you know, 25 years old and sad and not advancing or not, you know, doing anything in life, I would be sad for them. But I'm not scared of that happening. I don't know if that's the right word, but
well, it's scared of fear. Well, you said for fear, like fear of like failure or fear of this. So some people say, like, well, I'm scared that if I go for it, then it doesn't work, or I lose this money, or I'm embarrassed, or I have shame, you know, so whatever the word is, fear, scared, you know, it cripples some people, you know, and.
Well, usually we talk about fear of moving forward. You know, if you have something like, oh, should I take this step? Should I marry this person? Should I start this business? That's usually the fear that we're talking about right now, is the unknown of the future if I take this step. But I don't know, if you do, personally, I have, my wife makes fun of me because I have tons and tons of spreadsheets where I do feasibility. So like, is this cost? And here's the outcomes. And then honestly, I pray about it quite a bit and try to get some revelation on the next step to take. So make my own, do my own homework, put it in the hands of the heavens, and move forward from there.
Which I love that. Which is yeah. So once you make a decision to go, you're just like, all right, let's go. Like, are you one that like second guesses some, like when you like, and I'm not talking about little micro steps. Like, when you're like, you know, I'm going to start this business, and then you get into it, and then it's like, oh, I shouldn't have started the business, or it's like, how do we figure this?
You would only second guess if you go back to what we talked about before, if you haven't identified as that person. So if I want to be a speaker, like even before I did it, I said, well, that's what I am. I am the speaker. So there's no second guessing at that point, because it is you, and our brains will, again, identify or defend that identity, whether we want to or not. It's just part of our brain. So
what you just said is so powerful. Like, I don't, like, you just kind of like, but I want to just,
these are all my mottos.
I want to bring emphasis back to that, how powerful I am.
Yeah.
Like, It's interesting. Like what I've found, if you take somebody, let's say somebody's crushing their business, right? They're killing it. But their marriage, something's off in their marriage. And a lot of people aren't conscious of this, but what I found, a common theme with almost everybody has been, there's a part of them, if you start asking more questions, there's a part of them that doesn't feel worthy of love. Someone that's struggling in business or success, it's like they hit a thing and then they don't feel worthy of success, or they don't feel like worthy to be a great dad. It's fascinating that worth, and I'm not talking anything to do with religion. It's just like worth as a human. And, and I used to question my worth all the time. When I first went to therapy, the therapist looked at me, 10 plus years ago, and she goes, "Do you feel worthy of love?" And I should have been able to say, "Hell yes." I couldn't even answer the question. And no one had ever asked me that.
Because you didn't feel like worthy as a person, maybe?
Yeah,
like
I just didn't feel worthy. I literally just sat there and I stared at her. And one of the few times I just stayed silent, and I didn't feel worthy of love, like, truly.
Yeah. Why did you think that? Like, because you did something bad, or because you hadn't done something worthwhile?
My self-love was
just your own view of yourself, maybe?
Yeah, I didn't like the man that I saw in the mirror. I tied my worth and identity to how much money I had, how much I could help people and do stuff. But the reality is I had all these voids in my life that I was trying to fill with money. You were joking about money before. I just throw money. That was me. I'll put money at it. Because that's what my worth was. And I built an empire on stilts. So my investment firm came crashing down, and it would have been, if it wasn't that, it would have been something else, because who I was as a man wasn't solid. And so it's interesting, but as I went through everything and kind of in the, when I went through, after I lost everything, I was there and I'm like, who the hell am I? And then as I did my own study research and then finding out, it's like, wait a minute, I'm the author of my life. I get to choose how I see myself. And literally, when I started to integrate this, kind of a personal declaration, or I am, and then just started to change the narrative or whatever, the minute I made the decision to believe it, to say, I'm worthy, I've never questioned my worth since.
Yeah.
Ever. But literally.
Lessons from Adam Nugent right there.
Yeah. So that's why it connects so much with you. That's like, okay, I'm worthy of this. I'm worthy of that. It's literally, it's choice. And so much of our life, you mentioned earlier, like the unconscious, the subconscious, so much of our life is on autopilot. We're not even aware.
Yeah. Right.
And the truth is, nobody can shift or change any of these things until there's awareness around it anyway, So once you have awareness of it and you can recognize it, then you can do something about it. And it's fascinating that just that is so, what you just said again is so powerful. It's like, this is who I identify with. And it's like, that's part of manifestation, all the things, but it's like, you are being, even though you might not be the guy, you see yourself as the guy, and you all of a sudden become the guy because you see yourself as the guy.
Perfect. He's making me feel cool. Even though he paid me $5,000 to come be on this podcast, he's making me feel good.
Yeah. And again, it's like, what are you willing to do? And I think, again, I see you, as we're getting to know each other, like, you make a decision. You obviously sounds like you've got a engineering type brain or operator,
It's a figure it out as you go.
Yeah. But also
skill.
but you put emphasis on the front end, you do the due diligence, you lay it out, and then you make a decision, you take it to God. And then once you feel like, hey, I'm ready, and you go, and so many people stay in that ideation stage and try to figure out, it's got to be perfect, whatever. And then they stay stuck. And what keeps them stuck really is fear.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. So, along these lines, I've been competing, there's a TV show, but outside that, there's the UNAA. It's like a worldwide organization. There's a couple of them for competition. So you qualify, at any competition. You got a couple of them regionals.
Is this for like American Ninja Warrior?
Ninja Warrior, yeah, sorry. Obstacle training. And then if you qualify in a certain amount of them, you can go to the world championships. And so I'm over 40 now, so that's called the master division, which is still pretty tough. There's thousands of guys do that. But in 2024, I was the World Ninja Athlete Games world champion. And but I kind of could see that ahead of time, maybe like 2 years. I'm like, okay, in the next couple of years, I want to take first place. I feel like I can do it. I train a lot. I have the background, good facilities, and then I just actually could visualize it. And then it was not. I wouldn't say it's easy.
And I think you said when we reconnected here a few weeks ago, you said
pretty cool.
I think you said that how many hours a day were you working out?
Oh yeah, like 2 hours a day.
So when on those days where you didn't have the motivation or not want to do it, do you have a process that you go through that you see yourself winning, that do you see your identity that you like?
Sometimes, there's plenty of times you don't want to do it and you have to do it. You just have to. If you have a goal, if you have a mindset, if you have the purpose, it's just a part of you. Like, there's people that, crazy people that do ice baths every day, Do you do that?
Yeah.
I've done it a few times, and I'm like,
not as much lately.
like,
I mean, I was religious about it. It became part of my identity.
It was a trend, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it never gets easy. That was not like, I can't wait to get in this freezing cold water. Feels good afterwards, obviously, but it's not something that was easy. It's just a part of your life. It's a part of you, and then it was not even a decision. It's just what I do at 7 a.m. Same thing with working out. Some people crave to work out, of course, and I do sometimes. But there's obviously days you feel sluggish or don't feel good, but still do it anyway because you feel even worse if you didn't.
Yeah, I made a commitment to myself a year and a half ago, maybe a little more than that I wanted to compete in a men's physique bodybuilding show, right? So again, to go from 350 pounds to shredded on stage, I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I did not realize what I was signing up for. People that do this, especially all the time, I have so much respect. It's insane how much it takes. Yeah. And I was pushing to get ready for a show in October. We're recording this here in February now, but like October of last year. And my coach was like, you're not ready. And it was such a disappointment for me. And I was pushing 3.5, 4 hours a day, like no carbs, like just like literally
to the extreme.
So unhealthy long-term, so unhealthy in the short term, but nevertheless, it's like the goal. And so then the next show wasn't for 6 more months. And so I'm like, gosh, 6 more months.
It's hard to push that level for another 6 months, especially with
of course it wasn't that you get to pay up, but at the same time, it's like the vision of me doing that. I've tapped into that. I've meditated. I've seen it so much. And it's like, and also who I am today. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it no matter how long it takes, where it goes, because that motivates me. And a big why for me too is I want to show my kids by example. And to me, I want to inspire people to look, here's this guy that was morbidly obese and now he's shredded on stage. Like, why me? I'm not necessarily special. It's the fact that I made a decision and I was just willing to do something that somebody else wasn't. But, and I've healed so much around my food, but what's crazy is the further this goes, there's layers to that. I've had to heal through so many things and it's so uncomfortable.
I was going to say, did you have a moment, I'm going to interview you now. Did you have a moment when you were making this transition, like at peak weight or whatever, or peak, like, I don't have to say peak, but maybe a low point in life or some turning point that you were like, dude, I got to really hone in. People do that, but don't stick with it. Do you have a moment that turning point moment?
With my weight? Oh yeah. I talk about it all the time. I
specifically. Was it a day or like
it was a day.
Oh, okay.
I was going through my divorce. I was in my new house and my ex-wife called me and tore into me. I don't remember what she said. We're great now. We're like BFFs, way better as co-parents and, and as friends, but she tore into me and I went into a trance because for most of my life, food was a drug and eating was the addiction.
Like you couldn't even respond to her, just staring?
I mean, I'm on the phone. I don't remember what she said, but I was so my nervous system was just freaking out. To calm it, I went to food. So I started to eat whatever I could find. And if that wasn't enough, because the pain was still there, I DoorDashed even more food.
Yeah.
And I sat there in my new house by myself, gorging myself. And of course, there's temporary relief while you're doing it. Right. And then the uncomfortableness kicked in. And I just sat there and bawled my eyes out. And I had this, that was the aha. And it's like, you can't do this anymore. And again, you probably have heard this, multiple people say it different ways, but it's like in that very moment, the pain of change exceeded the pain of staying the same exceeded the pain of change.
Ooh.
And
that's a good line right there. Write that one down. Okay.
But the reality is if I could go back and talk to that guy the day before that happened, I'd look at him and say, you don't want it bad enough. And I was miserable. I hated myself, but the truth is not enough. And so it's like, it's like at what point there has to be a breaking point. And this is the beauty of like rock bottom or lows. And some people have to go really low. Some people go to certain things. It's not necessary, but I also think it's part of life. And many times when the light that we're searching for, the purpose, whatever, it's found in the dark. And it's learning to embrace that side of it. And there's the gift of pain. Like I say this all the time, like anytime we want to advance or level up in our life, whether it's in relationship, whether it's in our bodies, business, whatever, it requires a rupture. it requires, in order to create expansion, and it's the letting go of certain behaviors or patterns or limiting beliefs. Because again, going back to what you said, our identity is tied to that stuff. We use it as a justification of why we are. But when you let that stuff go, it opens up space to be able to go where you want.
Yeah. Something you hit on there is when you're eating, to maybe cover a feeling, it's like small dopamine hits of, with eating or with, there's all these things in life, it could be drugs or sexual things or whatever, but you have small hits, and to take away this problem or this negative feeling, but it's real quick and temporary.
Yeah.
Those don't solve any problems.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, you just said that perfectly. Like that was literally that after the chat with your wife or whatever, you were trying to fix that with small dopamine hits, but it's just so temporary. It maybe further the problem. It just covers it up for a minute, and then afterwards it's worse. So I know if you're listening and you want and you recognize those things, you need more long-term solutions than these small ones. The small ones are easy. That's natural, man. That just happens. Anybody like, I can easily sleep longer, you can easily eat something or whatever, and it fulfills like that dopamine hit for a minute. But long term, it's never going to help.
Well, it keeps you stuck. Going back to cold plunge, that's one of the reasons I like cold plunging. I'm an advocate for the emotional side of it, because there's also not a crash. So when you had the dopamine hit, and depending upon how long you stay in a cold plunge, temperature of the water, like it's the equivalent of having a ton of sugar. Even someone that does cocaine, it has the same level of dopamine sitting in cold water.
Yeah.
So it's like,
That's wild.
when it's crazy. But with drugs or food or alcohol, there's the same thing. There's just dopamine, but then there's a crash. And then when people get in the crash, it's like, ugh, and then you get caught in the shame cycle, because addiction is just, it's rooted in avoidance. But you're right, it's the dopamine. And so you got to find other natural ways to replace that dopamine, because most people can't handle because your brain's so used to it. And so that's why I'm a big fan. Like if I want to get off something or I don't like something, I don't do well with slow. I got to rip the Band-Aid off and be just
go hardcore
misery,
right away.
Pre-misery. But I'd rather get through it faster than stuck in this thing over a long period of time. That's just my personality. I just know me well because I'm an extremist. I have an addictive personality. I'm saying I'm either all in or I'm all out, but like the middle ground, I do not do well with, So what's in store for you, Wally? Like what can we expect from you here over the next?
Dude, my main goal, I'm selling we have a software that we're selling right now. It's called Free Play. It's really, really cool. It's a membership, and you get access to, like in Utah, there's over 100 different gyms you can go to. So people that have it love it. You can go to CrossFit or yoga or Ninja Warrior gyms or whatever, instead of just one place. But we're exiting that right now, keeping a tiny percentage just in case it goes to $1 billion valuation and $5 billion. I don't know, whatever.
10 billion. I am a $10 billion business. Yeah.
I may have doubts on that, but it's really cool, and it will grow. It'll be awesome. So I have, I'm down to the gyms and some side projects and speaking. Speaking's my jam. Like I love that, and I just want to do that all the time. If I could do it every day or every week, and I have all kinds of avenues right now. People are talking to me about it or asking to join their group, kind of to speak, which I'm really, really pumped about. So numbers down below if you want to call.
I was just going to say, do you just direct people to your social media?
Yeah.
Like we'll put it in the show notes. Is that all right?
Yeah. I'm still fresh enough that my website, it's like almost done and ready to go. It has all kinds of cool content and stuff, but it's literally been just word of mouth. People are like, oh, Ninja Warrior, and he's the cool stuff. And I get on stage and really fun and exciting, have some challenges and cool stories. And I don't know. It's like there's this whole list of like things that people are afraid of, and death was number 2 and public speaking is number 1. And I'm like, oh, but wait, that's my thing. That's my jam. It feels so good.
People had public
on
speaking
stage,
as a more bigger fear than death.
Yeah, well, the fear of death is just under fear of speaking. You don't think about dying all the time. Be like, dude, if I have to get up in front of people and speak, that's like the scariest thing I can think of.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I geek out on it. But then it depends on who I'm talking to, the group.
You have some cool stuff to share. That's maybe, and you're used to doing that, so maybe it's kind of natural.
The irony going full circle when you said that you saw this years ago. I was thinking about this here recently, that when I first started in the, I was in the investment finance world for 20 plus years. When I first couple of years, I was actually, for my age when we started, I was actually doing pretty well, but I didn't have a lot of fulfillment with it. And I remember literally one time, here in Utah, I went up the canyon And I had this thing, I'm like, I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to help work with people.
Really?
It was so funny. And I remember I was on a park bench, and I think it was kind of a tight money situation, young family, like, I don't know. And I remember just bawling, like, help me. I want to do this. Get me out of this.
They notice you. They're like, what's going on?
Yeah. No, I mean, what do you mean notice me?
The
Like,
family?
no, at that point I wasn't sharing anything. So my feelings were just
okay.
mine. But I remember going up the canyon and I was just praying, like asking to get out of this. I want to be this. I want to do that. I wanted to do something different, get me out of where I was at. It was just a, kind of a low moment, but it was so funny. Like now full circle, fast forward 20 plus years. And it's like, this is more of the space that I'm in, and with speaking or working with different clients. And so it's just kind of the full circle of stuff, that I didn't necessarily expect, and life throws a lot of curveballs, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's go.
Well, I appreciate your story of like hitting the rock bottom. I talked to many people who have done similar things. I don't think I've personally experienced like things are crashing and I need to make a change. So it doesn't have to be that extreme. If you go through that, like maybe my daughter did too, then it probably sticks with you forever, and you know how to battle things or use tools to always keep yourself in a good spot. I'm just thinking of a quick story. This is really a crazy story, actually.
Please.
And maybe a moment where I was considering everything in life. Those kind of moments, I don't know if they say they define you, but you definitely think differently. So I've been an adrenaline junkie for a long time. I've done all those things. I actually typed out a bucket list in my early 20s, 100 things, and I've done all of them. It was like classics like go skydiving or hang gliding or drive a Lamborghini, like it was just things like that. So then I crossed them all off. But my whole life I've done some adventurous stuff, and we went caving, me and 3 friends. You know what caving is?
Yeah.
Spelunking.
Spelunking, I've done it.
You're exploring caves. So this really, it's not super known. It's really south of here. They have 4 different routes, and we're like, well, let's just do the longest, hardest route because we're experienced adventurers, climbers. And so every 50 feet or so, there's a string hanging. So there's different routes. So we'll follow the green strings, right? And we're climbing down about an hour into this route. Should be like a 2-hour if you're going hustling. We get down to, we're about 220 feet down into the earth. I mean, small, tight. Like you can't even crawl unless you're sucking in air, and you can't do a push-up for sure. You just like this through several parts. There's this one section. Just visualize yourself on your chest and your hands are right by your face, and it's about 100 and some feet long, 130 feet long of just toes and hands is all the touching, moving you along. And it's pretty creepy. If you're claustrophobic at all, you would not survive. Like not even a second. We get through that part. There's all these really, really tight sections. And we get to the bottom, and we can't find the next string. And we're like, we've been looking all over. We went backwards. We couldn't find the last one. We're like, dude, what is happening? There's all kinds of, it's like a maze, kind of like different offshoots and tunnels and things you can go down. And we're looking for it for a while. And then we're like, okay, well, let's split up. And so we all go down a different chute. And so now I'm like all by myself, stuck in the middle of this rock, like tight as can be. And there's nobody around me. I'm like, dude, what am I doing? This is wild. So we finally regather back to our spot. It's been like 20 or 30 minutes. And a headlamp of one of the 4 of us dies. It is so dark, man. If your hand's in front of your face, you can't see your hand. You can't. There's no cell phone reception. Nobody knows we're here. Like, if our headlamps die, we're completely toast. So at this point, that it literally fails, and it was kind of like a eerie feeling. And the rest of them are not ultra bright, but maybe on their dimming out. It's been like 2 hours now, and one of the guys starts crying and panicking, like he's saying words like, dude, if you make it out alive, tell my wife this. And he's like repenting of his whole life and trying to he's just talking crazy because he thinks this is the end, which is kind of wearing on all the other 3 guys. Like, dude, we don't know what to do. We're stuck. This is the end. Have you, I don't know. Well, you have been in that moment, I guess. But if you've been in this is where you start thinking of what's important. You're like, dude, what's important? Time, your kids, your wife, being productive, doing good things in the world, not just making money or whatever. Those are cool moments, man. That just changed my whole thought of life to always improve myself, obsessed with improving myself so I could be better for my family, for people around me. Just wild. I shared that thought at that moment. I was like, dude, we have to move forward. We have to keep advancing. We can't just sit here and be like, we're going to die. even for searching for days. And so eventually we made it out. It'd been 4 hours by the time we literally saw, not metaphorically, but an actual light at the end of the tunnel. And we laid down for a second and we're like, dude, I can't believe that's it. There's the end. And it was like some tears of joy. And we're just like hugging each other like, oh man, we're saved. This is crazy. Came out of that. Everybody's a new man and doing great things since.
Yeah,
those are cool moments.
Yeah, and it's those are life defining moments.
Yeah,
and for time's sakes, I'll share this another time. I had a similar, not spelunking, but in a snowmobiling day where we got trapped and stuck, and it was supposed to be a few hours, and it was 16-hour day, and people are thinking they're gonna die, and like I'm trying to keep it all together, and we're getting lost, and so I will never forget that day. One of the guys was there. Well, he's like, I'm never going snowmobiling again. So for him, it was such a traumatic thing for him. And
I was thinking, I don't know if it's good to have these things or not, because it's like I don't wish this on anybody, but I guess maybe it's good for your.
Well, and just final thing, I think we get to choose. Kind of wrapping things up here. It's like identity. We're the author. We can choose how we see things. Like what we identify as what is even good, what is even bad, and so today, who I am today, like I'm choosing that everything in life is positive. Even the most unwanted things, that there's a gift, there's a lesson, there's something to be learned. And what I've learned for me, again, my attachment to it, because I'm the author, I can choose. I find that I'm able to move through uncomfortable situations or anxiety or whatever the emotion that I'm feeling. When I can shift my attachment to it, you're able to move things through quicker. Because a lot of the anxiety that we feel too is also, I believe, we talked about this at the very beginning, is a lot of anxiousness or depressive feelings because we are trying to control something that we have no control over, or something that's happened that we don't like. And we're so resistant about what's happening. And it's the resistance to what is. And once we can just accept it, it's like, all right, this is not what I wanted or whatever, but it's like, it just is. Then we can move forward. And yeah, dude, I love your energy. I love your story. And, we'll put in the notes, in the show notes, and then also on social stuff where people can find you. And
sweet.
There's a man that can motivate your team. So Wally, thank you.
And if you want to make billions of dollars, keep listening to this podcast. You can become a part-time male model like me listening to this podcast. Okay.
Exactly.
I think I've lost more money than
that's why I paid him $5,000 is because he didn't get into this. We're going to do another recording after this thing. It's the adult one, where he's actually going to dance. So stay tuned for that.
It's more
but
like
you have to subscribe to see that. But anyway, well, thank you, Wally.
Hey, it's cool, man.
Yeah, appreciate you. And thank you to everyone. And we'll see you next time on the Burn Up Podcast.